When you first start QGIS, you typically get a screen that has either recent projects or a blank project here on the right, toolbars across the top, a browser window, and layers that you've added to your project here on the left-hand side. Now, this may vary. Your view can be managed by changing view settings in QGIS down here with different panels and toolbars you can turn on. So I can turn on panels, for example, for a processing toolbox, and it will show at the right. If I were to save this project and then when I reopened it, it would come with this form and setup. Also, the toolbars can be turned on and off. So again, if I go to my view and down to the toolbars, I might turn on or off various clusters of tools, and so you can see icons appear or disappear as I turn the toolbars on and off. And so if you look again there at the top, you'll see this advanced digitizing toolbar shuts off or on as I turn it off or on in my toolbar settings. So you'll sometimes have a different look and feel. There's another thing we can do. We can add new toolbars with plugins or individual tools, and so you sometimes have to look at a different installation, or what you have installed might look different than when I show up because the different toolbars are turned on and off, or the different panels are turned on and off. I'm going to close this processing toolbox. The first time you start QGIS, there won't be any recent projects, so this will likely be blank. And you will add a new project up here in the left by clicking on this icon for a turned over sheet, and it gives you an open blank space. Now there's a bunch of things you notice when I move around. It's giving me coordinates down here in the corners because there's an automatic or default coordinate system that's listed over here. We'll talk about coordinate systems later when you have to worry about them. For right now, we'll just sort of take the default as is. You need to have some data to display, and there's various ways you can display data. One way is display image background. So people want to see something like Google Maps in the background. And so for that, you want to set up a tile, an XYZ tile server. So here in the browser, and if your browser isn't activated, remember you can go to View, Panels, and make sure the browser is active. You see I can make it disappear and reappear. So don't worry if the browser is not there. Go ahead and turn the browser on. Go down to this XYZ tiles, select it with a left click, then right click on that and make a new connection. Now, if we want to show Google Maps, I have to show the address, the URL, and I'll call this Google Maps. And I don't know what to enter here, so I can do a web search, and that will yield a Google Map URL for a service here, a tile service. And I've done this before, so I know this is the tile service. I'll say OK. And then I can drag Google Maps down onto my display area, and there I have basically a Google Map layer that I can zoom in or zoom out around my panel here. So how did I know what that URL should be? Well, I did a quick web search, and I know the search terms. I did Google Map Tiles URL. A bunch of things showed up, and so for example, in this first one, it's a blog about using QGIS and using GIS in general, and then there's a list. Now, sometimes these are a little out of date. The good thing about these is that they don't change very frequently, not like a lot of URLs, because so many people depend on these. And so there's a list of terrains or roads or satellite hybrids. I can also then look for, Bing Maps. So if you go down here, there's a list of Bing aerial. So I can copy this and then go to an XYZ tiles. Again, let's select it. Left click, then right click to get new connections. Then type in Bing aerials and paste in that URL. Now sometimes you'll do these and they won't work. It's because they were copied wrong, or they don't show up right or they changed, which is less likely. So You're not guaranteed when you go on the web to get the right link, but usually you do, and I've copied and pasted them to a document I have so I can basically load these Bing Maps or Google Maps and use them as a background in many sort of layouts I do or other sorts of interpretations I do. So that's one way to basically get quick background information. If you want to digitize off of these or include them in a map that you're going to produce, then it's good to know how to create these tiles. Now the good thing is that if I make the browser go away, those XYZ layers still stay there. So here we have then the first data that you've loaded.